Well, good evening. Welcome to the West Ham Weekly on the West Ham Voice. I've been away. Sorry about that. I just needed to, well, not needed. I had a break. First Alkmaar and then back for a day and then straight on to Cyprus. Went to a wedding and did a bit of sunbathing, etc. Not long enough. And only back the other day and I'm off to Prague tomorrow. Can't wait. Can't wait. I'm feeling, I don't know what I'm feeling at the moment. I'm feeling joyous, apprehensive, a little bit sort of nervous. Just everything rolled into one. I talked to a few friends earlier today and said, I'm not feeling anything. I should be. And now all of a sudden, maybe because putting the script together for this show has kind of helped sort of psych me up a little bit. 2 days to go to the biggest game that we've had for what? 49 or 47 odd years. Really looking forward to it. It's going to be a party, isn't it? I guess it's going to be something to celebrate. Well, let's hope we're going to celebrate because we've got to get through one more game against Fiorentina. No mugs, decent team. I'm going to talk about them in a minute. I'm also going to talk about what winning the Europa Conference League could do for West Ham United as a club. What how will that shape the future? Certainly next season, because I think there's an awful lot riding on it. It's more than just winning the competition and holding up a trophy. I think there's a hell of a lot more riding on the competition itself. Manager, players, who we might sign, who might leave, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to cover that as well. And I'm going to do a really, really brief rundown over the past sort of couple of weeks. I'm not going to talk about the Leicester game. That's done and dusted. And I know everybody, just went mad on social media because we lost against a relegated team. Who cares? We were safe 3 games before that. So who cares what the result was? Apparently, that's the one game I missed because I was out in Cyprus. Apparently, the atmosphere at Leicester was absolutely superb, even though we lost because, of course, we're going to a European final. The fans were really boisterous and good on song. And why not? The game didn't matter at all. Right, before I go into that, let's just see who's in the chat. Good evening to you, Matt. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Good evening, Foxes. How are you? Daniela, how are you? The man still is back. Hope you had. I did have it. It was nice. It was nice to be away. Looking forward to the long catch up. Well, I'm going to try and be as brief as I can because I just want to talk about what's happening on Wednesday. But I'll try. Good evening, usual. How are you? All the degenerates. Howard, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. Thank you, mate. Much appreciated. Daniela, I wonder if Celtic would be coming in for Moyes now that they need a new manager. I mean, why did Postecoglou, or however you pronounce his name, I should know, he's Greek. Why did he go to Spurs? I mean, I guess he doesn't want to win any other trophies, and that's why he's there. But anyway, I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Would Moyes be tempted? Who knows? Who knows? Good evening, Rupert. I hope you're sort of settled into your hotel, mates, and looking forward to the flight tomorrow morning. I'll see you out there, mate. I'll be out there tomorrow evening. Debbie and Mark, I hope you're well. Oh, the joys of a final coming up. The transfer saga that's going to take place this summer, next season, going to be a mad one. Do you know what? The one thing I'm not going to talk about on this show tonight, I will do when the transfer window opens after the game is done and dusted and see where we are. Excuse me. But I'm not going to talk about all these silly transfer stories that are knocking around because nothing's been decided. Because that's one of the things of winning the Europa Conference may change. Win the Europa Conference. We're back in Europe next season. You're going to go for a different level, different caliber of player in the transfer market, as you might do if we're not in Europe next season. So I'm not going to talk about all these silly stories that are out there. That includes Declan. He ain't going to Arsenal. Did I say that out loud? James, good evening to you. All hail the Messiah. I hope you're well. Evening, Stel. The Messiah is levitating as we speak. Good evening, Si. Are you going? You're going out there, aren't you? You are. I'm going to see you out there, mate. I'm sure. I'm like a child the night before Christmas. Jesus Christ. I'm getting goosebumps now. I really am. Sean, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. Stellan arriving on time. Shocker. Wasn't bad, really. What was it? Couple of minutes. Good evening, Paul. I hope you're well. Odds on still being his customary 5-minute, mate. You know it. If I wasn't late, it wouldn't be a proper show, would it? Good evening, Mark. I hope you're well. I am. I'm nervous. I'm a little bit sort of apprehensive. I'm a little bit, how should I be feeling about this game? Because I'm not feeling 100% confident. but I think we can hold our own. I'm going to talk about how the game's going to go. By the way, I did ask people, and thank you for sending them in. I got loads of videos talking about the game. My apologies. I ran out of time. I did actually have to work today, one of the few days that I was actually working. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to put them all together and I'm going to put them out. I'm going to set them up to go out tomorrow sometime. So look out for that. So those who have sent me videos, those who have yet to do so, you've got more time. So send me a little video about what you think of how the game's going to go. You can send that to westhamboys@gmail.com and I'll put them all together and put it out as a little show. Good evening, Mr. McLaren. I hope you're well, mates. Thank you for joining. Steve, how are you? And everyone, not long now. We simply have to do this. We simply do. What are you going to do, Steve, if we win this? Are you going to start screaming out for another striker pre-season? I hope you're well, Steve. And congrats, by the way, mate. Flammer, let me guess, Stell was feeding the cats. No, they're grands. They're grands. They're at my other half's mother's house, you know, running around the garden. It's summer, isn't it? They don't want to be locked up in a bloody fourth floor flat. Tidying up the kitchen. No, I've just finished eating, finishing the laundry, and he will go live at 21:07. Cheeky bastard. Good evening, Graham. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Rupert, come on, Stell. It's nearly my bedtime. You got a couple of beers before you go to bed, mate. Good evening, Philip. I hope you're well. Not long now. The nerves are wrecked already. Good evening, Tony. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Cypriot time. If it was Cypriot time, you'd be waiting another couple of hours. Good evening, Bill. I hope you're well. All interested to hear Still's views on Antonio's untimely comments. I will talk about that. Hopefully, if Scamacca is recovered, he can make an appearance. I did actually say, I hope Scamacca is fit. It doesn't look like he's with the squad, but I did actually say when I saw what Antonio said that I hope Scamacca's fit. I hope he's on the bench and he comes on for Antonio and scores the winning goal. That has shut Antonio up. But I am going to talk about the comparison between Antonio and Scamacca in a moment, because I'll tell you what, Antonio is barking up the wrong tree, mate. Flammer, we have to win this Milk Cup and get rid of Moyes. What an 18 months of suffering we've had because of him. Let's go and be positive and next. But what if, you know, if we win it or when we win it, how would you, unless Moyes walks, I can't actually see West Ham United getting rid of him. Now, that's not me saying we should keep him or anything like that, but I really can't. I think they'll be between a rock and a hard place. If we win this and Moyes, you know, Moyes has led us to, you know, the promised land, another season in Europe, etc., a cup, a trophy, and so on and so forth. I mean, I think the only way he might leave before next season is if he actually walks. And as Daniela said, maybe the Celtic job might be the thing that he might walk to. Mark, has Moyes got any tough decisions to make before Wednesday? He does. And I'm going to get to what I think the team may be. I think it's pretty obvious what the team, I think there's maybe one, maybe two positions. And some people are suggesting three, and I'll get onto that in a minute. But I think it's more or less done and dusted for maybe apart from one position. Graham, Sunny plus 2019 era, you bastard. And I'm taking Wednesday afternoon off to work. Watch our boys making history. Fantastic, mate. I wish you well, even though it is hotter over there. Kalispera to you, Keith. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining. Good evening to you, Adam. I hope you're well, mate. How are you? Thank you, Robert. Much appreciated. Mind you, the bloody weather's poxy, so I kind of would prefer if I was in Cyprus. It's a lot hotter out there. Hopefully done and dusted in 90 minutes. I hope so too. We don't want our nerves jangling any longer than that, do we? Daniela, 20,000 Hammers fans are said to be going out there. Yep, I predicted that more or less. Shaky, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Looking forward to Wednesday. I am, but I'm getting all palms are sweaty and all that sort of shit. John, good evening to you. I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Howard, I'll be off for a walk in the woods if it goes to extra time penalties. Don't go too far in the woods. Lee, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Scott. How are you, mate? Good evening, AT. How are you? Barney, how are you? Please don't talk about Fiorentina. Whatever anyone does, it scares me shitless. I'm sorry, but I will cover them just a little bit. Not a lot, just a little bit. Rupert, booked a table tomorrow night. No, fuck me, Rupert. You're in bloody Prague, mate, and you're going for a Ruby in Prague. What's wrong with you, man? Come on. Philip, can't come soon enough. Desperately want to win. We all do, don't we? We all do, don't we? I mean, what would it mean to us? I mean, what would it mean to you? What would it mean to, we've suffered so much, haven't we, over the years? The last time we won a trophy, 1980. The last time we were in a European final, 47 years ago, 1970. We have suffered. We should be a team that should at least be challenging, for cups on a more regular basis. This is such a golden opportunity, isn't it? WHU, good evening to you. I should know he's Greek. Good evening, Lee. How are you? Hit the like button. Thank you very much, Lee. You always do that, and I really appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, hit the like and subscribe button and the bell notification. If you're not new, just hit the like button and still subscribe if you haven't already done so. Daniela, did anyone else see the Czech diplomat Libor Saka? Good luck message to West Ham. Yes, of course. We got an affinity with the Czechs, haven't we? We got Souček and Soufal and, and all that sort of stuff. I just think... it's almost like it's on home soil, isn't it? Even though we're the away team and playing in our fabulous traditional white and orange. Fuck me. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine whoever thought that up? Did they in the remotest part of their tiny brains think West Ham United might get to a final and they're going to have to wear this shit white and orange shirt that is traditional? I mean, couldn't make it up, could you? It was brilliant. Still had a rest weekend. Oh, yes, in Leicester. Say hello to me. Oh, yes, I heard about that. Tony, going to watch the final on a big screen in the Isle of Man as I'm here watching the TT. Fantastic. Watching the TT races, watching West Ham as well. I hope you enjoy it, mate. Shaky. I might even wear my new home shirt on Wednesday. And they're not out yet, are they? Are they? I don't know. I've seen one or two photos. I thought they were fakes, though, but I don't know. Garino, evening to you, mate. Cool as a cucumber, as chilled as a bottle of limoncello, just out of the fridge, as relaxed as... Oh, who am I kidding? I'll tell you what, when you mentioned limoncello, it reminded me I got a glass of wine here. Cheers, people. It's going to be a great week, isn't it? I've seen that as well. That is funny. Good evening, Jason. I'm excited and so nervous at the same time. Exactly. I think we're all the same, aren't we? Good evening, Aidan. How are you? I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Fo. How are you, mate? Thank you for joining. I hope you're well. Fo again. Are you going to the match? I am. I'm going to leave at 5:30 tomorrow morning to get to City Airport to fly to Zurich, to get a connecting flight to Vienna, to get a coach to Prague. Don't ask me. Don't ask me. When I was booking it, I was just looking for the one, not necessarily the fastest way to get there, but I wasn't going to pay something like 800 quid to fly direct to Prague. James, Stel, we've been linked with 200 players. Can you just run through all the details with them? Good evening, Victor. How are you? I think Moyes will go Emerson over. Oh, that is interesting. I don't think he will, but that's not a bad shout, Good evening, Schmiegel. I'm a bit worried about Wednesday, I have to admit, but we can definitely win the Conference League. Then you shouldn't be worried. Flamer, do you have any spare tickets still? I'm heading to Prague, but I'm afraid I don't, mate. I wish I did. Will, evening, Stel, Creswell or Emerson? Well, I was going to say Creswell, but Shmi, who is it that said it? Victor said maybe Emerson. So maybe he has got one or two choices to make. David Moyes. I enjoyed that. Thank you very much, Lee. I really appreciate that, mate. West Ham 2, Fiorentina 1. Oof. Evening, Stel. Score predictions for Wednesday. I don't want to predict. I don't want to jinx it in any way. Good evening to you, David. I hope you're well. Good evening to you, Steve, WHU. I hope you're well. Not now. Flemmer, I think 90 minutes will be 2-2 extra time. It's not bad smoke though, David. I think 90 minutes will be 2-2 extra time, 3-3. Oh, fucking don't go to penalties. Don't go to penalties. CC Skamaka will come on the score. I don't actually think he's with the squad, but wouldn't that be great? Good evening to you, Andrew. I hope you're well. Graham, it's written in the stars. Just rock up and enjoy. It's way past time. It sure is. NWO, how are you, mate? I hope you're well. I tell you what, let's stop there and let's just run through all the stories that over the last couple of weeks, just a sort of a roundup of the end of the season, shall we? Let's start with the women's team because the women's team ended their season drawing 2-2 against Spurs. which was great because they've not had the best of seasons. They finished 8th in the Premier League, but unfortunately it wasn't enough to see Paul Konchesky keep his job. He left the club at the end of the season. We wish him well. No replacement has been announced yet, but let's hope they get someone decent in, because they've got some decent players in the women's team. And I hope they do better next season. Lifelong Hammers fan Kate Longhurst has also left the club. She's been with us since 2018, but she's moving on to Pastors New. And the woman I can never pronounce her surname on, and I know someone told me how to pronounce it, Dagny is her name, was voted Women's Hammer of the Year. So congratulations to her. What about the Academy, who've had a fantastic season, haven't they, the under-18s? First of all, when they finished the season, there was a squad of under-19s who flew out to Mumbai, India, where they were involved in the 2023 Premier League Next Generation Cup. There were 8 teams that were split into 4 groups. Their first game was against Indian side ATK Mohan, where it ended up 1-1. Next up was a 4-0 win over Indian side Bengaluru. And then the final group game was against South African side Stellenbosch, where the game ended 3-3. That led to them not qualifying through the rounds, but we ended up finishing the tournament in 3rd place, where we beat Everton 3-0. So well done to the lads. Divine Mbama, as you all know, was Young Hammer of the Year. Absolutely well deserved. And under-18s captain Gideon Kadua was this season's Dylan Tombaides, won the Dylan Tombaides Award. So well done to him as well. Now, West Ham have wasted no time in getting some professional contracts up for some of the youngsters. They've had 4 players who have signed professional contracts over the last week. Versatile defender Ryan Bartram, centre-back Billy Bates, another centre-back Sean Tarima, and goalie Mason Terry all signed their first professional contracts with the club, and well done to them. Right-back Bartram, 17 years of age, who's played mainly at right. He's a versatile defender, but played mainly at right-back this season, joined West Ham at the age of 5, and he signed his scholarship only a year ago, and it shows just a year later he's been given a professional contract, they think highly of him. Well done to him. Centre-back Bates, 18 years of age, joined West Ham in 2020 from Norwich City. He returned this season from a major injury to make 14 appearances for the under-18s, and of course got us to winning the double. So well done to him as well. 18-year-old Newborn Tarima has been with West Ham since the age of 10, primarily a centre-back, but the ability to play further upfield. He's made 22 appearances for their under-18s this season, and instrumental again in helping the side win the double. And lastly, goalkeeper Mason Terry. He joined at the age of 9 when he was scouted playing for Sunday League side Essex All-Stars. He made 23 appearances for the under-18s, keeping 8 clean sheets. So we seem to be turning out quite a lot of decent goalies in the academy, the development squad, as well as the senior team as well. And hopefully 1 or 2 of them might actually break through into the senior team next season. There's Trott, Joseph Anang, Nathan Trott, and of course Hungarian. I think he's a Hungarian international. Did he play? He was certainly called up to that Hungarian senior team, Christian Hegyi, who's already rated as a top goalie as well. So one player, unfortunately, though, that isn't going to stay with West Ham United, and it's a real shame. The story that we've heard over the last week or so about him, it's a real shame. Jamal Baptiste, very promising young centre-back. There was an awful lot of thought of him, and we thought he was going to really make it big time. He actually went out with the under-19s to India, and there were high hopes, but unfortunately in an interview about a week and a half ago, he said that he won't be staying with the club. It's interesting because David Moyes made a comment about him some weeks earlier in the season about kind of not pulling his weight and so on. But what we heard was he suffered from a rare disease discovered called Guillain-Barré syndrome, which can lead to nerve damage, etc. He was finding it difficult to motivate himself. He was unable to have any energy. And what's really sad about this situation is that the coaches must have realized that was something wrong. But I think they just put it down to him being lazy, which was such a shame. And Baptiste approached David Sullivan about his situation. Sullivan took this in his own hands and sent Baptiste out to his own private doctor, who evaluated what was wrong with the player. And now, look, Baptiste has been offered a contract to stay with West Ham, but on lower terms. But he's decided to move on, and he's decided that maybe he's seeing some of the other young players that have left West Ham over the past season or so, that perhaps he's ready for senior football, maybe in a lower league. but ready for senior football. I think it's sad. I think it's sad because I remember Baptiste being a big sort of prospect for us. There was an awful lot of talk about him. Whenever the coaches at West Ham were talking about some of the players coming through, Baptiste's name was always mentioned. And it's a shame that we're letting him go, but even a bigger shame that no one really realised just how serious his condition was. I wish him well. Other players, Jacob Knightbridge and Brian Kinnear, both goalies, have been out on loan to Harrow Borough and Falkirk, respectively. But it's going to be unclear whether they're going to be kept on next season. Both of their contracts have come to an end in June, and it will be interesting to see what happens with their careers. Also, for Mipo Odibeko, remember him? Another big prospect that we got from Man United. And at the time when we got him, there was a lot of big news about him. Man United wanted to keep him, but he's sort of fallen by the wayside, which is a shame. His season loan hasn't gone that well. Thierry Nevers, another player, his season hasn't gone that well either. But with Odibeko, his contract ends at the end of this in June, whereas Nevers does have one more year left on his contract. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with some of these young players. Now, on a good note, on a high note, is two of our youngsters, under 18s, have been called up or are about to be called up to the Northern Ireland senior team. Callum Marshall joined West Ham on a scholarship back in January 2022. Massive impact that he's had since he's been with West Ham. 51 games in total for the under 18s and the under 21s combined. 30 goals already scored in those 51 games. He'll undoubtedly be one of the under 18 players that's going to move up into the under 21 squad on a regular basis next season. 18-year-old Patrick Kelly came to West Ham in July 2022 and was immediately offered a 3-year professional contract. He's made 21 appearances for West Ham, under 18s and under 21s combined, pivotal in central midfield in the season that's just gone for, again, the under 18s winning the double. Fantastic for them. If they actually get called up to the senior squad of Northern Ireland, that is absolutely fantastic. Now, someone asked me about what I think of Mr. Antonio. Well, couldn't have come at a better time, could it? I mean, what's he up to? What's going on? He did this in the January transfer window, and then he did it again just a week or so ago on this, whatever it is, this podcast or whatever. What is going on in his head? He's become, we hear about sort of disruptive influences at the club, and all this stuff going on and losing the dressing room and so on. I just wonder how much of it is down to this man. I mean, he should know better. Really, he's one of the senior members of the squad, and he's acting a little bit petulant in a way. Look, there's nothing wrong with what he said, in terms of, saying that, David Moyes doesn't play to Scamacca's strengths. We all know that. We guessed that almost the day he signed Scamacca to West Ham United. But it's just the nature and the timing of what Antonio did and what he said. And it's a little bit arrogant of him. He kind of come up with, sort of like, I'm the only one that Moyes needs. I'm the only one that knows what Moyes needs on the pitch, etc. As if he is the only player in this world that can play to the style that Moyes wants. It's a shame, to be quite honest with you. It sounded conceited. It sounded arrogant. It even sounded a little bit bitter that Moyes had the temerity to go out and buy another striker in the summer transfer window. I don't get it. I don't understand where Antonio's coming from on this. And to be quite honest with you, I know there's been rumour that Moyes is going to drop him for the fight. He's not going to drop him. Moyes ain't stupid enough to cut his nose off to spite his face. He'll use Antonio for the final, but I reckon in the summer it'll be Antonio that'll be leaving West Ham United, to be honest with you. I just think he's become a little bit too... He did it in January, talked about, there were offers and this, that and the other. And it's almost like as if he was pushing to want to leave. And now he's doing it again. I think we will cut loose Antonio in the summer. I really do. When the season's ended, after this game, the transfer window opens a week later, and I think we'll see Antonio go. Wherever he goes, good luck to him. He's been a great servant, but, to be honest with you, he's at 33 years of age, never going to be a finesse striker, never going to have that golden touch. If he doesn't have to think about something, he can score. But the minute he has to think, it all goes pear-shaped. And I'm just a little bit disappointed, to be quite honest with you, at the timing. Not so much of what he said. We know what he said is actually, fact. But it's just the timing of it, and it's the approach. It's almost the arrogant approach he had towards what he said about Scamacca. And if I was Scamacca, I'd be a little bit fucked off. I'd be a little bit cheesed off that Antonio said this about him. Like I said again, it's not that he's putting Scamacca down. It's almost like he's having a little bit of a dig at Moyes, I guess, in a way. But it's just the timing of it, to be honest with you. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Now, I said I'm going to compare their stats. Look at that. Scamacca has only made 27 appearances this season. Antonio's more, doubled that, 47 appearances. Antonio scored 14 goals. Scamacca only 8. And look at the average goals per game. Scamacca's average goals per game is slightly better than Antonio's. So for Antonio to sort of like almost bitch about what's going on, etc., well, it was just a little bit odd, a little bit stupid. The timing of it was really awful. I don't understand it, but there you go. Right, the team went out fair weather training last week, didn't they, to Portugal? And the only player that was missing seemed to be Scamacca, still recuperating from his recent knee surgery. However, there were 2 development players that went out. Divine Mbama and Freddie Potts joined the team. And I think they also went out to Prague as well. What else? Well, we've also been busy with some of our senior players in extending their contracts. Now, this is where I get a little bit, should he have done? Should he not have done? The one thing that we know about West Ham is the average age of the squad is really old. We've got a very, very aged squad. And what are we doing? We're giving extensions to players who are quite old. Now, look, don't get me wrong. I think Lucas Fabianski has rolled the clock back. I think he's been superb for us this season. And in a roundabout sort of way, I think he kind of deserves his contract extension. He's 38 years of age now. And to me, it's like a little bit concerning that if Moyes relies on Fabianski for yet another season, it might be another season too much. I really thought that Areola would be our number 1 keeper this season. But where does that leave Areola? What's going on in his mind? Now, there's also talk about, should it be Areola or should it be Fabianski in goal for the final? I think that's a no-brainer. I think it's Areola. You've had Areola there from the start. You keep Areola there for the final. I think that it shouldn't even be questioned. But I just wonder what Areola's going to think of what the future holds for him. Because if David Moyes yet again starts with Fabianski, Areola is a decent keeper. I know a lot of people got like, half and half on him. For me, I think he's a decent keeper. And a decent keeper isn't going to want to sit on the bench for yet another season, to be quite honest with you. Aaron Creswell, this is a little bit confusing, to be quite honest with you, because I believe that he extended his contract till 2024 at the beginning of last season, but it wasn't talked about too much, and then some stories came out saying that he was in contract for another season. And other stories are saying he wasn't. Look, he looks like he's staying for another season anyway. 33 years of age, even he has had he had a poor start to the season, like a lot of players did, but he came on better. He got better, he improved. And does he deserve a contract extension? Yes, as a backup. A little bit like Fabianski. Yes, by all means, if you're going to be a backup. But if you're going to be a starter, that worries me. Fabianski, 38 years of age, Creswell, 33 years of age, etc. Now, there are other players that have yet to have their contracts decided on. And that's Soufal, Vladimir Soufal, Vladimir Bonner, Angelo Bonner, and Manuel Lanzini. Now, Soufal and Lanzini, they've got 2-year clause extensions in their contracts that the club can trigger, but nothing's been decided yet. My feeling is that Soufal will get his extension. I'm not so sure that Lanzini will. And I think that's a shame. I think Lanzini is one of the very few players in this squad that could be on a par with the likes of Paquetá, in terms of the way Paquetá plays. Do you remember Payet and Lanzini when they played together in the first season together? They were dynamite together. They kind of understood their game. And I think, someone like Lanzini, I'm not suggesting Lanzini should be a starter, but someone like Lanzini could be the type of player that can be on the same wavelength as Paquetá. And it'll be a shame to see him go, but there you go. I think he won't stay. I think Lanzini will leave. I think Soufal will stay. I don't know whether the club will extend it for 1 year or 2 years, but I think he will. And at the moment, as we know, Angelo Bonner has discussed that, there are talks ongoing about whether he extends his contract as well. And I love Ogbonna, but he's 35 years of age, and I think, given that the injury that he had last season, I thought that was the end of his career, and good on him. He's come into the side when needed, and he's been absolutely superb for us. And I love him. I think he's fantastic. But we do need young blood. We need younger players to come in. Zuma, continuously injured. You can't rely on Ogbonna playing extended number of games in the Premier League next to a Gerd. As good as they can be, I think we need more young blood in the team. But those contracts are yet to be decided on. Another thing that, I said that one. I've said that one as well. And I've said that one as well. Another thing that's got to be decided. And I think this now gets into the realms of what happens after the Europa Conference League final. Because I think the players on this list here, Declan, Souček, Fornals, Ben Johnson, Antonio, and Connor Coventry, all their contracts are due to end at the end of next season. Now, depending on what happens in the final, could determine what happens with some of these players. Now, I've already said, I think Antonio, given that his outspoken nature, I think he's out the door. I think Ben Johnson quite possibly will also be out the door because he just hasn't he's regressed, which is such a damn shame. Connor Coventry, I'm not sure about. Connor Coventry has had a perfectly decent season out on loan at Rotherham last season. And I know he ended the season injured, but I think he could come back. I'm not suggesting he'll claim Declan Rice's place in the team, but I think he'll be a good utility player, good backup player to have. Fornals, he's back on form. I'd like to see Fornals have his contract sorted out maybe a bit longer. Souček, to close your ears now, could end up becoming West Ham captain next season if he stays, depending on what happens with David Moyes as well. And what about Declan? I don't know. We've already sold him, haven't we? We've sold him at least twice already, and the summer transfer window hasn't even opened. Arsenal bought him, and Bayern Munich have bought him. If you believe everything you read, I'm sure there's going to be a long queue of teams, trying to bid for his signature. If we win the Europa Conference, if we're back in Europe next season, improve the squad even more. Declan, you win a trophy with West Ham. Why not stay and win another trophy with West Ham? The Europa League puts you in the Champions League, mate, the following season. You might as well sign up for another 5 years, Declan. No, in all honesty, I think we all know he's gone. But Souček, I don't know. I think it's dependent on what happens in the Europa Conference. I think his contract will be dependent on that. Maybe even Pablo as well. Ben Johnson, I think, will go. I think Antonio, because he's outspoken, will go. And I think Connor Coventry, either whether we win the trophy or not, will probably stay at West Ham United. Right. What about? I tell you what. I'll stop there, because the rest of the show will be, that was as quick as I could possibly go. The rest of the shows are going to be about Europa Conference. And like I said, we're going to look a little bit ahead at the game on Wednesday. But I'm also going to talk about what will it mean to win the Europa Conference in terms of, well, we've discussed players already, but transfers and so on and so forth. But before I do that, let's just go into your chat. Saw a YouTuber explain that the problem this season was Moyes became the tinker man and kept changing things, and players did not know if they're playing 4-4-2. Well, I commend David Moyes in one way, because a lot of fans were saying he's only got one way of playing, no plan B, etc., etc. And then, ironically, and what Antonio said that Moyes has bought players like Scamacca, Paquetá, and all those sorts of players in order to play a different way, to play champions, to aim for Champions League. It couldn't go much wrong, could it? It couldn't have gotten much worse, I should have said. But fair play for David Moyes for thinking that he could try and do that. And then when it wasn't working, he resorted to type, didn't he? And he started playing the game that he knows. Good evening to you, Bronson Lovejoy. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining, mate. Good evening to you, Garino. I hope you're well. Keith, I had my third orange away shirt for Wednesday. I won't be buying the embroidered one, though, for double the price. Of course not. Good evening, Anthony. I hope you're well. Loving it. Thank you, mate. See you in your part. When are you going out there? By the way, who's going to care it's raining over there if we win the trophy, because we're going to party all night? I care. Mess up my hair, mate. I mean, come on. CC. See you all in the fan zone, mate. If you see me in the crowd, come over and say hello. George, who gets the #1 shirt? Well, this is it. I hope I've explained that. I think next season it's got to be Areola. who plays as the number one keeper in the Premier League next season. But when it comes to the final, it should, Moyes has got to stick to his guns. I think it should be Areola for that as well. Shaky, what a way to top of a cracking week. First a skydive, second birthday, third a West Ham win. Wow. What a week. Let's hope it happens that way. NWO, Creswell is slow now. He is, which is why I'm concerned that he's been given an extended contract. If he's been given an extended contract in order to be our number one left back, that worries me. Garino, City Airport, still, it's no, mate. No, it's only down the road for me. It ain't bloody business class. David, I take it you're not Mr. Williams' carer this time. I'm meeting him out there, David, mate. Are you coming out there, David? I'm meeting him out there. We're actually meeting in Vienna. So he's flying with Wiggy to Vienna. Then I'm flying in a different route to Vienna. And then we're meeting his boy out there as well. The game is free on YouTube. It sure is. It's also free on BT Sport as well. Hopefully I'll see you in Prague on Wednesday at the stadium. Stel, I'm flying in on Wednesday. I hope so, mate. Be lovely to see you. Jerry, good evening to you. I hope you're well. Getting nervous. I'm getting excited now because I'm doing the show, I guess. But, oh, boy. Oh, you should see me at some games. I fucking pace up and down. You know when you feel your heart really sort of beating like 10 to the dozen. I tell you, I said it. I'll die at a West Ham game. And what better one to die at than the final of the Europa Conference League? Howard, I thought you'd have a... I ain't rich, I don't know what you guys think of me. Schmeigel, imagine the scenes if it's 0-0, 80 minutes, Skamaka comes on, scores the winner, sticks his middle finger up at Moyes whilst running off with the trophy. Good evening, Foxes. Garino, Skamaka has been sold already by all accounts. Yeah, if you believe all the stories. Do you remember what I've always said about transfer stories? Don't believe everything you read and hear. And and the irony is, and I think the sad thing about it, some really noted journalists are also getting involved in this silliness. Jacob Steinberg and all that sort of stuff. When I almost treat them like serious journalists. Maybe I shouldn't, I don't know, but now they're falling into all this social media trap of someone says something, all of a sudden it becomes like, it spreads like wildfire and everyone believes it, when there's not always an element of truth in it. Look, I do actually think Skamaka will probably go, but it will not surprise me if he stays. Will, 25 to 1 for Soufal to score anytime. It's written in the stars, having a fiver on that. He's never scored, has he? Can you imagine Soufal scoring in the final in the Czech Republic, in Czechia? He would go nuts, wouldn't he? He would go nuts. Keith, I think Souček will play out of his skin and Soufal, home game for them. Exactly. Is exactly what I'm thinking. Masuar could Sheffield. Why? I don't get that. I saw that. I laughed. I was actually over in Cyprus when I saw that story. And I had a good little giggle. Only because Besiktas, or however you call them, they're in European football next season. He's only just signed for them on a permanent basis. He basically left West Ham on loan. And if he played a certain number of games, he automatically became a Besiktas player. Why on earth now would he want to go to Sheffield United? What, to fight a relegation battle next season? He's staying put. He's going to play, I don't know what they're in. They're either in the Champions League or Europa League next season. Why would he want to go to Sheffield? It doesn't make sense. Rupert, can you text me your credit card details? Still, my glass is rather empty. Yeah. I'll send you, what money do they use over in Czech Republic? I'll send you a $5 worth of that. Usual. West Ham 6-4, Fiorentina 30-8, draw 11-5. I don't bet, so I don't understand any of that. David, absolutely banging night. FA Cup final at the Emirates. Wasn't that great, that FA Cup final? Are you talking about the youth FA Cup final? I think you were. What else we got? Will, please don't tell me we're playing in we're playing in the orange and white kit. I'm afraid we're the away team. We're the away team, and Fiorentina wear, what is it, like dark purple, and that means we can't wear our normal kit. We can't wear the black shirts. We have to wear the white and orange of the mighty West Ham. That will go down in history, wouldn't it? That will go down in history, that West Ham United wore the only shirt in their history of having nothing to do with West Ham United, and we won the trophy in that. How odd How odd. Mark, why don't we bring a striker or two in on loan for a change? Yeah, I don't mind, so long as it's the right player. It doesn't matter whether we bring him in on loan or bring him in. But that's a good point. Bring him in on loan, see if it works out. If it doesn't, then send them packing. Yeah. CC, I queued for hours in 76 at Upton Park with 3 mates. 2 mates got tickets, but the gate shut right in front of me and a mate. Oh, again, I missed out on a ticket, but I'm going to Prague. Oh, mate. So sorry to hear that, but enjoy the atmosphere when you're out there, mate. Absolutely. Usual. West Ham's class as the away team, hence the orange kit. I'm afraid so. Andrew, the only way the under-18s will break into the squad is a change in manager. Now, I don't really... Don't get me wrong, this isn't a Moyes in sort of show, but I don't really believe that. I said this a few times. You have a good look at the Premier League and you tell me how many clubs bring through more than 1 or 2 young players over years. You know, it doesn't happen. I think there was a stat, I mentioned this very early in the season. There was a stat knocking around that something like only 3 or 5% of Premier League academy players make it in the Premier League. That's 90 odd percent, 95% of players that will go elsewhere. They'll go to lower leagues, etc., in order to forge a career. So I don't think it's just Moyes, to be honest with you. And all credit to Moyes, he's taken out 2 youngsters. He's taken out Mbama and Freddie Potts with the senior squad to Prague. Not that they'll get game time. Well, never know. Mbama, maybe. Imagine Mbama coming on and scoring the winner. Evening to you, Martin. I hope you're well. Thank you, mate. Much appreciated. Miss Smith, Pakata, to get a red 33-1. I fucking hope not. I don't know much about this ref, a Spanish ref, apparently. He's well regarded. I've heard he's well regarded, but I've not done any research. Didn't have time. But let's hope none of our players get sent off. I'm scrolling down, trying to catch up. Miss Smith again. Calm down. Antonio is a legend. The predictable pile on is group think tango. Short memory. No, I did think about this. I do appreciate what Antonio's done for West Ham United. You know, since he came, he's played. I think there's only 2 positions in the team that he's never played: goalie and I think centre back. But otherwise, he's played in almost every other position going. And yes, absolutely right. You know, you've got to give him credit where credit's due. You know, he's done well. Top goals, Premier League goal scorer, and all that sort. I think he's top European goal scorer as well. Now, I get it. I get all that. But I just think he's become a little bit too big for his boots, you know, and at 33 years, if he was 26, 27 years of age, talking the way he does, I'd go, fair enough, mate. It looks like you want a big money move, but he's 33. You know, he's not going to get another big money move. He may get a club like Sheffield, for example, that think it'll be great for him to go to that club in order to keep him up in the league. But he's just got like some of the things he's been coming out with sounds a little bit too arrogant, which is such a shame. You know, he shouldn't do that. Schmiegel, can't stand Antonio's arrogance. Not a good look, especially in the dressing room. I think it's time to go, to be honest. See, people are, there are 2 sides to this, and I just don't think he's done himself any favours in speaking out the way he did. Garino, Antonio looking after Antonio. Kevin, and that's nothing wrong with that. That's fair enough. He's looking after his, you know, he's 33. He wants one more big, probably if he can get it, he wants one more decent move, a decent contract move. And, but, you know, he's got a very decent contract at West Ham. It's ongoing for another year. And I think there's another year on top that could be triggered as well. So it's not as if he's doing badly. Kevin, it's a bit like the old Black Power theme, totally out of order. Learn to dig. Good evening to you. I hope you're well. Haven't seen you for ages. If you don't have a good game, I see you're judging particular individuals to higher standards. Oh, get over it. Learn to dig. You know, it's not just him. There's a lot of players that need to have a good game on Wednesday. It's that, you know, we've all got to be on form. We've all got to be playing as a unit on Wednesday night. Adam, good evening to you. I know I've said good evening already. Antonio's an average player, needs to go. We should have better. He's just a big mouth. Only plays for 20% of the season, 100 grand a week. It's a joke. Who else have we got here? Peter, Antonio couldn't track win. I want him gone. I want him gone. Mrs. Smith, close your eyes and remember the kangaroo celebrations. Oh, no. I'm not saying, you know, he has given us some great times. There's no two ways about it. There's no doubt about it. I think the biggest mistake we made with Antonio was making him number 9. In all honesty, I don't think that was the right thing to have done. I think we should have kept him as a midfielder. I think he was sort of better off in that position. And when you get that number 9 shirt on your back, you all of a sudden you think you're a hot shot, and that's just like I just think it's gone to his head a little bit, and I think it's a shame that he had to say what he said. Don't get me wrong. I think what he said wasn't an untruth. I think he's absolutely right. I think Scamacca isn't the sort of player that can play to Moyes' style. He's not wrong in saying that. He's absolutely correct. We all knew that, but it's just the manner and the timing, to be honest with you. Hammers Mikey, good evening to you. Bored dallying over Bowen's new contract, but more than happy to renew Creswell's. Well, not really, because Bowen has got another 2 years left on his contract. His contract doesn't expire till 2025, so there is plenty of time to get Bowen a better contract. So I don't think they're worried about that. I think the immediate worry was the players whose contracts expire now. And then 2024, like I mentioned a bit earlier, is much more important at this moment in time. 6 players at this moment in time whose contracts expires in 2024. West Ham have got to sort that out. So I think there's time. I think there's plenty of time for Bowen's contract to be renegotiated. Juha, I hope you're well, mate. Thank you for joining. Posh Hammer, good evening to you. Oh, it's you, Paul. How are you, mate? Are you still suffering? I hope you're feeling okay. Yeah, I'm seriously, actually, and I hope to see you out there. Counting 26 players posing on a plane photo. No Scamacca. Enjoy your trip. We're going to the O2 Indigo. Oh, I got you wrong. I thought that was someone else for a moment. Sorry about that. We're going to the Indigo to watch. A few resale tickets left only now. I hope you enjoy it, mate. I really do. Let's scroll down. Who else have we got? Areola a bit flappy. What? And Fabianski ain't? Come on, people. I've seen some of Fabianski's errors this season. Not been great. Newcastle game, one of his worst games he's ever played for West Ham, I think, was awful. So if we're going to call Areola a bit flappy, you've got to look at Fabianski as well. Look, every goalkeeper's got an error in him, haven't they? Areola, Fabianski, no different. I thought Areola should have been our number 1 this season, to be honest with you. But in all honesty, fair play to Fabianski. He's done well. Carino, Scamacca signing for Juve soon, replacement for Vlahovic. Let's see if they can afford him. Let's see, David. Someone once said to me, "Stars are like mini skirts; they just hide the best bits." I'm great, mate. Talking to each other. Good on you. Good evening, Vinay. How are you? Areola and Fab, not much between them, but only Areola can play for a Champions League side. He's a modern keeper with superior distribution. I agree on that immensely. He has got much better distribution. Hammers Mikey, a lot of silly fans saying that Areola, but swap him for Fabianski if it goes to penalties. I mean, Areola has seen us through the whole tournament unbeaten. He has indeed. And it surprised me that anyone would even question whether Areola should be in the team, in the lineup on Wednesday or not. Epic, good evening to you. Moyes will get horribly exposed if he stays and Rice leaves. He might do. Let's see what happens after this game. Adam, Fab is a good shot stopper, but can't move his feet fast enough and can't save with his feet. So he's got to be our number 2 keeper. He costs us too many games. Mark, if we get a new manager in 2025, he will inherit a very old squad and needs to completely rebuild it. This is where, it isn't just last season where it was a rebuild. We're going to have the same this summer, and we're likely to have the same next summer. You're absolutely right. I love some of the older players. I think Fabianski's been a revelation. Creswell, he's blown hot and cold, but he's got better this season. Ogbonna, as I said, I love Ogbonna, but at the age of 35, we need fresh blood. We need young blood in the team. We need to be not looking to keep extending the contracts of these players. We need to start looking at getting new players in. Rhonda and Tony, when does transfer window open? It opens on the 15th, I think. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. It's either the 15th or the 17th. Something like that. It's about a week or so after the final. NWO. Sack Moyes just for the treatment of Lanzini. Best player of the club. Wasted for 2 years. Well, not 2 years. This season, definitely. The season before, I think he had enough game time there. Steve, just you watch the Fiorentina players diving. Well, let's hope the referee stamps it out. I've heard about what the Fiorentina manager said tactical fouling, etc. Well, that's against the rules, isn't it? If they start diving, if they start doing tactical fouls, they should get yellow cards, and rightly so. Stop them from doing it. Paul, Moist to Celtic, he can go on a high with a trophy. You know, it could happen. That could happen. Let's scroll down. Who else have we got? Adam. No, it's not Mike Dean. It's a Spanish ref. I can't remember his name. Adam Johnson this year has gone backwards, and he's so frustrating. Another 2 or 3, another 2 years for Fornals for me. You know, you can see how much Fornals loves playing for West Ham, can't you? You know, he wears his heart on his sleeve, and he is a good. I'm glad he's come good at the this season. He hasn't been given enough game time in my mind. Schmeigel, I heard the referee for the final has a reputation for getting cards out. Well, that was the referee for the semi-final, who was a pretty awful referee. Semi-final or quarter-final. I don't know much about this one. I'm not so sure he's that bad, to be honest. Steve, excuse me. To win would mean everything. I was at the cup final in 1980. This would mean everything. Surely if we win, there has to be a victory parade next Sunday. I think there will be. I don't know where it will be, but I think there will be some arrangements for that. Daniela, fact is, Rice has never said he wants to leave West Ham. May not also said, but I'm not saying, but never has come out with, I want to go. He's never come out with saying that. It's all the rumours, it's all the speculation. Like I said earlier on, we've sold him before he's gone before anyone puts a bid in. No one's put, you remember last summer, he was going to go, absolutely, definitely he was going to go, and not one team put a bid in for him. I think they were waiting that this summer is going to be cheaper. He's not. West Ham are going to insist that they're going to want £100 million for him. If a team wants to come up and pay it, West Ham will consider it. If a team says no, like Arsenal, 80 mil, 70 mil, etc., West Ham are going to say no, don't want it. David, I don't remember the guy's name. So if someone knows who the ref is, please let us know. Moisaurus, good evening to you. Need to get behind Moyes and the team for the final? Absolutely. Man, don't. I hope you're well. Hello, Stel. Only negative about the game on Wednesday is the awful kit. We're going to be playing in first final since 2006, and we have to wear that rubbish. I know, mate. I do know. Ian, Skamaka needs to stay so Moyes can fine-tune a system that suits him. I'd like to see that. Antonio out, and Barmer could be that replacement for Antonio. Good shout. Very good shout. When Moyes wants to play his traditional style. Now, I think Mbama may go out on loan next season, but it does depend on what happens with Antonio. If Antonio goes, good shout, Ian. Mbama can play that sort of role. Graham, I don't want Moyes to stay, but he has shown considerable class throughout these last few weeks. He absolutely has. You've got to hand it to him, whether you like him or not. You've got to hand it to him. You know, he's been, he's kept his decorum. You know, he's focused on the job. One more game, David. One more game. Keith, the referee is Carlos Delgado Grande from Spain. All the assistants are also Spanish. Thank you. If you know much about him, let me know. Do give me a little précis on what he's like. Sean, I think Vlad will get the 2 years. It's quite possible. Certainly one, but yeah, quite possible 2. Czech Krona, that's it. Thank you very much. White and orange is Blackpool's away kit. Schmeigel, I'm intrigued to see how well Milenkovic and Arthur Cabral play, considering we tried to sign both of them. Well, Milenkovic, we know 100% we tried to sign him. And now, but Cabral, again, rumours, who knows? Juha, burnt orange to the win, like I said all season still. You did, mate. Jason, good evening to you. We got to a Euro final, a semi, and finished 7th and 6th and 7th in 3 years. Yes, was turgid most of the season, but form picked up the last 8 to 10 games. Good to watch while we're battling. Praise his merits. You know, you've got to give it to him, haven't you? You've got to give it to him. 6th place, 7th place, 2 seasons in a row in Europe, semi-final, and now a final. That ain't bad. We talk about next level. That ain't bad, is it really? That is kind of next level in an awful lot of ways. Rupert, it's Czech crowns. It's about 27 Czech crowns to the pound. I'll send you 27 Czech crowns in a minute, mate. Bedfordshire Hammer. Good evening to you, mate. I hope you're well. Getting a little nervous. I'm getting excited. Now I'm getting excited. Good evening to you, Ballon. How are you? BBC on show on BBC Live tomorrow night, 7:30. What's that about? Is called OK West Ham? Watch that. Definitely. Well, I'll be out flying. Philip, orange and white, pink and yellow, naked for all I care, as long as we win. Good point. Good point. Peter, that shirt, as much as I don't like, has been successful wearing it. So let's get into the team and get into them and give them a good battering. Good evening, Clarky. I hope you're well. Thank you for joining, mate. Good luck in the final. Thank you very much. Much appreciated from a Newcastle fan. And well done to you. You've had a decent season, haven't you? Fo, unpopular opinion. I don't mind the white and orange kit. I don't like it. But there you go. Good evening, Sharky. Thank you, mate. Much appreciated. Chris, good evening to you. Hope Fiorentina don't go 1-0 up. You can just picture the time wasting and the rolling around with fake injuries. Like I said, if the referee is a good referee, he'll stump that sort of shit out, won't he? Thank you, David. Much appreciated, mate. It was okay, mate. Well, I hope to see you soon. Early new season. Antonio is no legend, average at best in my opinion. Peter, David, good evening to you, mate. It's pundits and fans that say these things, not the players. Like Antonio, what poor timing. Absolutely. Don B, good evening to you. I agree with most re Antonio. Time to move him on. He's the wrong side of 30 anyway. 33 years of age. Like I said, if he was 25, 26, 27 years of age, talking like that, you'd envisage he'll want a big money move somewhere. I don't get it. I don't get why he's had to say it. When we think about all the disruption that's been going on, talk about, disruptive players falling out, boys lost the dressing room, etc. I wonder if it's something, like players like Antonio that have caused a lot of that. Bill, I can't understand why the orange couldn't be replaced with blue and a flash of claret. Would be a big seller when we win. It would have been nice for them to actually come up with a new shirt, wouldn't it? Maybe just all white. Or maybe, apparently next season's second kit is all white with the claret stripped down the side. Why not wear that? But as you say, as other people have said, it's been a lucky kit for us, hasn't it? Jerry, I feel like Cinderella. My 3 sons got themselves tickets, but couldn't get one for me. I'm stuck at home. As long as the golden slipper is given to Antonio, I won't mind. Mate, so sorry you missed out there. Right, I'll tell you what. Let's stop there for a second and just finish the next part of the show. So what are we going to talk about? Well, as we know, the West Ham team landed earlier today. And you're absolutely right. You look at that photo, there is no sign of Scamacca. He might join them. I don't know. He's maybe still in Italy and he might come over a different way. I don't know, to be honest with you. But they landed earlier on. And apparently, up until the weekend, it was really sunny, really nice, really warm out in Prague. What's happening now? It's pissing down with rain. There you go. But does that matter? That might suit us, actually. Proper English weather to play football in rather than all that sun. Don't want all that sun, do we? To benefit the Italians. So they arrived. And it is, as I've said, as we've all said, one of our biggest games. The last time we won a trophy, 1980. I'm not including the Intertoto in 1999. Hardly worth a mention. If we qualify, already said, 3rd straight season in a row that will be in Europe, something that has never been done before in our history. Now, how shit is Moyes as a manager? That we've just said, finishing 6th, finishing 7th, semi-final place and a final place. And if we win it, you've got to give the man some credit, haven't you? Fiorentina ended their season in a 3-1 win over Sassuolo last Friday. They can certainly create many chances. They demonstrated that with 15 shots, which 7 were on target. They finished their season 8th in the league in Serie A, which means that the final is their only passage to European football next season. But I guess it's the only passage for us to European football next season as well. Fiorentina have already been involved in one major final this season when they lost 2-1 in the Coppa Italia against Inter Milan a couple of weeks ago. There's no denying that Fiorentina have got some very decent attacking players. Good goal threats like Luka Jovic, Arthur Cabral, Nicolas Gonzalez in their side. But they are vulnerable at the back. Even though they've got the likes of Milenkovic, they are vulnerable at the back. And and I believe that, someone else said it in the chat a little earlier on, we're starting to come good at the right time, aren't we? The last, 8-10 games, etc. There have been a few mishaps. All right, fair enough. The 5-1 blip against Newcastle, the 4-3 giveaway against Crystal Palace when we really should have been a bit more on form. And like I said, the unimportant 2-1 defeat against Leicester. But on the whole, Our playing style has improved. We've gotten better. We've gotten more confident. We've had some fantastic performances in the last, 8, 10 games. The 2-0 down against Arsenal, coming back to draw 2-2 was superb. And other games like that. We've just had some very good games. A lot of positivity in the last few games. And then, when I think about Arsenal, actually, isn't it funny? That was the beginning of Arsenal's demise, wasn't it, to win the league? Yeah, because everyone said, oh, they're going to win it hands down. They've won it already. And yet that was the start of their downward spiral when they drew against us. They went on to lose it, didn't they? And I think, when I think about Declan Rice and where he might go next season, going to Arsenal, will he really win the Champions League there? I'm not so sure. I'm sure they're building a really decent young squad, but if he really wants a shout at winning something, it's got to be somewhere like Man City, Bayern Munich, and perhaps Real Madrid. Those are the three almost dead certs in a way in European football, the European big boys that might just give Declan Rice what he wants. Anyway, I digress because it's not just about Declan Rice, although I will talk a bit more about him in a minute. The outcome of this very last game of the season, our 57th game this season, will help determine, as I mentioned at the start of the show, a number of factors that have been kind of big distractions for us throughout the season. A win against Fiorentina, like I said, guarantees us football, European football yet again. And it may start answering some of the questions that have been knocking around most of the season. And the first one is David Moyes' future. Look, the Moyes out rhetoric that's been going on, the Moyes in, the Moyes out, it's dominated our discussions throughout the whole season, but it's become a massive divider between fans. It's almost to the point of it being really sort of quite hateful. You couldn't have an opinion without someone jumping down your throat one way or another. If you were Moyes out, you had someone that was, sort of calling you out because of that. If you were Moyes in, you had other people calling you out because of that as well. And the number of times I remember having to say during a show, look, we all have opinions. We all have different ways of seeing things, etc. And it's got to the point now where you're looking at him, just as people have just said, you look at him and you go, I get why people will want him gone. I get it. But at the same time, if he brings us success, if he brings us a trophy, he's going to go down in history as one of the few managers in West Ham's history of being a winning manager. And I think for him, I hope he does it. Not because I want him to stay or go or whatever, but I hope he can hold his head up high and say, I've done my best and this is the outcome. I really do. And I think, it's been quite... a lot of the cries. When I was in Cyprus, I heard or I read on social media about the fact that we lost against Leicester. People were losing their shit, and it was like, are you really serious? In a game that had no bearing, no matter at all. Why, Moyes again, blah, 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 blah. Do you ever wonder, maybe the players themselves had one eye on the final itself? So I don't know. Look, you know what I've been like with Moyes. At the beginning of the season, I backed him. Halfway through the season, I backed him. I started to teeter just into the new year and said maybe it's time for him to go because it was getting worse. It felt like it was getting worse and worse. But he's turned it around. We've had some good performances, and I think depending on what happens on Wednesday, will determine Moyes' future. If we win this, I think Moyes could stay. If we win it, would he deserve to stay? I genuinely don't think we're going to have as bad a season, whether it be Moyes in charge or anybody else. I don't think we'll have as bad a season as we have had this season in the Premier League. So if he wins the trophy, I think he deserves, the opportunity to decide whether he wants to stay in his last season at West Ham United. If he wins it, he may decide, especially with what people have been saying, with the Celtic job now becoming available or about to become available. If he wins it and Celtic have a sniff, I don't blame him at all for turning around and going, I'm a winner. I'm going now. I've done my job. I will leave with my head held up high. So there's two possibilities for why he could leave. He could leave if we lose and he gets, moved on, or he could win. He could lose the game and get sacked or whatever, or he could win the game and go, I'm deciding to leave. I think it's in a kind of way, it's in his own hands. And if he stays, I won't be over the moon by it, but if he stays, I'll accept it. And I know there's going to be the whole thing again next season, if he does stay, Moyes out, Moyes out. Let's see what happens with the man. Let's see what happens, because I genuinely don't think we can have as bad a season as we did last season, to be honest. So that's one decider that could be determined as to what happens. If we win the cup, I think he might stay. If we win the cup, he might decide to walk away with his head held high. If we lose it, it's possible that he might leave. Declan on his way? Well, I've said it already. The constant bore for how many years now? 3 years solid? Every single day. Not a day has gone by when someone has said Declan Rice is leaving West Ham United. And here he is, 3 years later, still with us, etc., playing one of the biggest games of his career. And if we win this trophy, he will hold that cup up. And one of the few West Ham captains holding a trophy up. And it might. Now, look, I think it's more likely he will be gone, but it might just make him think twice. It might just make him go, hang on a second, we're back in Europe, we'll strengthen the squad, let's see what happens another season. It might. I don't know. There's a small chance it might determine his future as well. But look, if we win, lose, whatever, you can't deny Declan Rice going. If he wants to go on to pastures new, to win more trophies, etc., then fair enough. He's given us a good crack. I really enjoyed having him as one of our players, and we all will wish him the best, wouldn't we? But if we win, there's that small chink that makes me think he might just stay with us. Right, what about West Ham? Are they united? This whole thing throughout the season, another distraction throughout the season about losing the dressing room, player fallouts, etc., etc., etc. So toxic that Moyes lost the dressing room, we heard. No one wanted to play for him and so on and so forth. And yet, the last 8 to 10 games of the season have been rather different. All of a sudden, we clicked. What happened? Something just happened. And all of a sudden, we started to play like a team. And there were rumours, there'd been rumours that Scamacca's leaving. Antonio, like I said earlier on in the show, was on the brink of joining another club in the January transfer window, and all this. But look, when we start hearing these stories, you've got to sometimes take it with a little bit of a pinch of salt. And I know what's happened throughout the season. People saying I've got it on good authority. I've stopped doing that, because I feel quite embarrassed by it, to be honest with you. Because even I used to say, I've been told about this. And I would tell you guys, and I'll just sit back and think, how much of that is really true, and how much of that is just being spoon-fed to me? And I kind of try to retract from doing that. But I know other people do it. I know other on social media, they say, I've got it on good authority that this, that, and the other's happening. All the things that have been happening haven't happened. Players haven't walked out. Moyes hasn't been forced out. There's been one or two players who have spoken out a little bit, but other than that, are West Ham United? I think they are. I think you've seen that in the past in the past few games, in the last 8 to 10 games. And if we win this trophy, that will just strengthen the resolve of this squad, and Moyes or whoever will then just add strengthen it even more. And I think West Ham are united. I think we've seen that. I think we've seen the way we've been playing in the last 8 to 10 games. And winning this will give it such a boost, that's this squad. Who knows what we can go on to do next season as well. Next up, Mark Noble and the director of football role. Apparently David Sullivan is pissed off with the way we've been spending, David Moyes has been spending his money. He's upset, that he thinks that the signings that we have been shit. Have they really been shit? To me, there's probably only 2 players out of the 8 that we've signed that you could argue haven't just made it. One of them has been injured most of the season, and that's Maxwell Cornet, and the other one is Scamacca. But otherwise, you look at the players. Areola, backup keeper, but yet doing a great job when he's been asked to do it. We've had other players like Kera, much maligned at the beginning of the season, and yet he's come good as well. He's been excellent. Emerson also come good. I was actually surprised that Emerson got dropped from the team to bring Cresswell back, because I thought he was playing really well. I think young Flynn Downs is a player for the future. He's not there yet, but he's showing an awful lot of promise. And of course, Paqueta in the middle of the park. Oh my God, look at us going wild over his skills, over the way he plays. He gets stuck in there as well. It's not just all pretty pictures with Paqueta. He gets his foot in. He's a really decent player. So of all the players that we signed over the summer, really, one could argue that 2 players who have been dogged with injury throughout the season haven't come good. Cornet and Scamacca. Let's see what happens with them next season. Winning this trophy, does it mean we're going to bring in a director of football, etc.? Look, even if we do bring in a director of football, if we win the trophy, and this is where we start talking about transfers, etc., if we win the trophy, then a director of football will relish coming into West Ham United. The budget that he'll be given, and he'll be working alongside the likes of Mark Noble rather than pushing them to one side. He could even be working alongside the likes of Rob Newman, the head of scouting. They've got a different role. It's about working together. There's no reason why Mark Noble, Rob Newman, and a director of football can't work together. So I just think, and I just wonder, to be quite honest with you, if we succeed, Sullivan might have another thought and say, actually, do we really need a director of football? Is what we've got in place at the moment, the head of scouting, etc., is it working? Because if we win a trophy, it will prove in a way that it's been rather successful. So I'm a little bit skeptical about that as well. Next up is, does Sullivan really want a director of football? There's all this talk about Sullivan wants a director of football in order to take over the running of transfers again. I'm not so sure. I think Sullivan, I think he got nervous, like a lot of us did during the season, because it was so poor that he got rather shaky and nervous. And maybe that's why a director of football has been discussed. As it stands right now, the transfer window opens in a week's time. We haven't appointed anyone as a director of football. He's not going to have an awful lot of time between now and next week when the transfer window opens to hit the ground running. So if you really wanted a director of football, I just wonder whether that wouldn't have been arranged already by now. I'm not so sure. I think a director of football coming in is not necessarily a bad thing. A director of football coming in, if we win the Europa Conference, will mean that we can target completely different players in the transfer window, which is why I haven't spoken about transfers so far, because there's going to be a different kind of caliber of player that we're going to go for if we don't win the Europa Conference. If we don't win the Europa Conference, we're not in Europe next season. We go for a completely different type of footballer. If we do win the Europa Conference and get back into European football, again, we go for a different caliber of player. And a director of football coming in wouldn't be a bad thing to identify the sorts of players that we need. Is it because Sullivan wants to take more control? I don't think he does. I think he's taken a backseat. And I think he might have second thoughts. If we win the Europa Conference, he might have second thoughts on bringing in a director of football next season. And next up is another thing that's been ongoing all season, and that's club buyout. Really? The Qataris really coming in to buy West Ham United? Well, interestingly, if we win the Europa Conference, we'll be a much better and much more attractive proposition back in European football again. And quite possibly, we might see an investment. But again, I think there's been an awful lot of talk with not a lot of substance. But it makes good headlines. Apparently, the Qataris who want to buy Man United, if they don't buy it, they're going to look at West Ham United. But they're not, because they'll be looking at other teams instead. Kretinsky has been rumoured to be taken over. He's been taken over since the day he bought into the club. He's not going to buy into West Ham United. He's not going to take it over he's not going to invest any more money in terms of taking over overall control of it. So I think it's another thing. It will become a more attractive proposition without a shadow of a doubt. But will we be bought out? I don't know. More speculation. So to summarise, winning the Europa, let's get rid of that for a second. To summarise, winning the Europa could mean that Moyes is almost definitely, he'll see out his final year, or he can walk away with his head held high. Winning the Europa, who knows? Declan might stay another season. Winning the Europa will bring a togetherness, will galvanise this team for next season even more than before. Winning the Europa, as long as would attract even better players in the transfer window. And winning this conference, Europa Conference, maybe we might just end up giving David Moyes and the board a little bit of credit for getting us there. Right. What about the game itself? Well, Fiorentina apparently have got a number of players out injured. I think this is all bullshit. But apparently midfielder Gaetano Castroviglia twisted his knee in the last game against Sassuolo and might be a possible miss. Attacking winger Nicolas Gonzalez apparently crashed into the post during the game against Sassuolo, and he may also be out. If you remember, Aaron Cresswell crashed into the post a couple of seasons ago, and then he got a cracked bone in his back. So it's possible that Gonzalez may miss out, but he finished the game and he scored the third goal in their 3-1 win. Attacking midfielder Antonin Barak is also rumoured to be carrying an injury. He's played a pivotal role for the team this season, especially in this competition, by scoring 5 goals. And goalie Salvatore Sirigu is also rumoured to be out injured, but it doesn't matter because he's second or third choice anyway. I expect Fiorentina are going to put out a very strong team. Of course they will. Any player that's... I think this is all smoke and mirrors. I think the likes of Castrovilli and the likes of Gonzalez and Barak are probably all going to be available, and that'll be a strong squad for them out. What about West Ham? Well, like I said, the one thing about the Italian team is that they do concede a lot of goals. In 38 Serie A games, they conceded 43 goals, which is not great for an Italian team. In 16 games in this competition, they conceded 17 goals. So, they may have a goal threat, but I think we've got the possibility of being able to threaten them as well. Now, how do I see this game panning out? Oh, well, let's talk about Moyes first of all, and what team he may put out. I think, we talked about it. Someone mentioned earlier on, it could be Emerson for instead of Creswell. It's a good shout. And I would have maybe even said maybe Carer's in with a shout over Soufal, but I think Soufal will start. I think, to me, quite possibly, the only question mark is who plays on the left side of attacking midfield. And I think that could either be Fornals or it could be Benrahma. You could go with either, couldn't you? But I think Areola will be the goalie. I think the back four will be Soufal, Zuma, Agurd and Creswell. The middle three, Paquetá, Souček and Declan. And then the attacking three, Bowen, Antonio, and either Benrahma or Fornals. I can't decide which of them could be the starter. You tell me who you think. I've spoken for an awful lot, so I'm going to stop in a minute and read your comments. What game would it be? The one thing I hope David Moyes doesn't do is go all defensive. There's no way we're going to be able to defend for 90 minutes and think about winning this game. It's got to be a tactical game, but we've got to be on the front foot. We've got to take it to them. I'm not talking about exposing ourselves completely, but we've got to take it to them. Because they do have a weakness in defence, I think we can get at them. And I think we've got enough firepower with the likes of Bowen, with Antonio and his strength, with Fornals or Benrahma, whoever it may be, with the skill of Paquetá, etc. I think we've got enough in our locker to really go at this team and get the result that we need. I'm not going to give a prediction. I don't want to jinx it. I really might. I know what my heart says, but I don't want to listen to what my head says. So let me go into the chat and finish off the show. Excuse me, Foe. I think Areola would perform much better if he got a good run of games. I totally agree. AT. Paquetá and Rice will be the key men in the final. I think that's a really good shout. Turbo Film, good evening to you. I really do hope we win the Europa Conference League with an attacking 4-3-3 or a 4-1-2-2-1 formation. When we play that way, we look a far better team. We retain the ball better as well. Good shout. James, good evening to you. Paquetá will star in this game. This is why he signed for West Ham. It could be his game. He could run this show, couldn't he? Razor, enjoy the game still, win it for the Europa next season, and a must Moyes go after final. I think Celtic won't want Moyes with his tactics to bore you to death. Maybe not. Who knows? They've had Postecoglou or whatever his name is, so you might be right there. Galimera to you as well, James. I hope you're well. Enjoying the show from Melbourne. Thank you for joining in, mate. Much appreciated. Jason, my mum made a few FA Cup winners' cakes in 1980 before the final. When I stressed, she said, don't worry, they'll win. She knows next to nothing about football. Keep the faith. Downey 8, sorry. Fornals for me. Great corner taker. We have barely scored a corner since Fornals stopped taking them. Good shout. Hammer Mikey. 4-4-1-1 attacking formation I'd like to see. Midfield four of Benny, Paquetá, Rice and Bowen, and Fornals in behind Antonio. So you drop Souček. You know damn well Souček's not being dropped for this game, don't you? You know damn well. Jonathan, why has all the West Ham channels now given Moyes a pass? Yet over the last 3 seasons, we finished well in the final, but we also played poor football and lost over 30 games in the last 18 months. You know my thoughts on him. I've wavered. I kept my faith with him. I wavered. You've got to give him some credit, though, haven't you? Brian. Souček scores. Rice scores the winner. West Ham 2-1 storybook. Darren. I've no negatives about West Ham as long as Creswell don't play. I think he might play. Leslie. Hi, Stel. Hi to you, mate. Moyes, with only 1 year left, will not give a shit for the future. Maybe not, but he'll certainly give a shit for what happens on Wednesday. Still, good evening to you. Apparently, Fiorentina are expecting an easy win on their fans page. Let them. Let them. That's good. That's good. Let them be arrogant to think that they're going to win it easy. That is good. Razor spent over 400 million in his reign here, nearly relegated us. You think he is? It isn't bad. 6th, 7th, 400 mil spent. BA, get him gone. And tells the truth. Leave him alone. Pretty sure others do. I know your thoughts on what he's on Moyes, mate. I know. Schmeigel, Luka Jovic is another player we were interested in when Haller was at the club, and he played with him at Frankfurt. He did indeed. He went to Real Madrid. He failed there, and now he's resurrecting his career, a bit like Haller did after coming to West Ham. And he's doing pretty well over in Italy. Will, we could still squeeze in into Europe next year through the FA Fair Play system. West Ham have the least amount of cards. That is true. Are they still doing that? I don't know. I'm not sure they do anymore. Chris, I've heard Fiorentina like to press their opponents, which they do, which leaves them vulnerable at the back, which they do. They also struggle against counter-attacking teams. It's made for us, isn't it? I just hope Moyes doesn't drop too deeply. I hope he doesn't get his players to drop too deep. Every time I see West Ham drop around our 18-yard box, that worries me. Jonathan, we stop Florentine Gonzalez. We win. Been watching their game on highlights. He seems to be the main threat. I think he's one of a few. David, saw photos of the statue of the trophy in Prague. Not a bad trophy to win. Come on, you Irons. John, good evening to you. I didn't know Stel was back. Lovely jubbly. I am, mate. I hope you're well. Lee, great show, as always. Thank you very much, and great comments. We've got this West Ham. Come on, you Irons. West Ham are massive. Over land and sea. Support and have a great time to everyone. Thank you very much, mates. Sean, Fiorentina will be wearing black armbands in memory of Tony Petrocelli. Right. Well, West Ham, I guess West Ham wouldn't do the same. Foe, question. Who would you start at left back? Cresswell? I think Moyes will start Cresswell. I can see why there's a call for Emerson as well. But I think he will start Cresswell. Crafty Dave. Didn't you been away still? Didn't know you were away. Where's your I didn't stay in the sun long enough, Dave, to be honest with you. Running around all over Cyprus to weddings and stuff like that. Pat Holland fan, good evening to you. All Hammers fans here and I was getting excited about the big game. Absolutely. Jonathan, if we win the final in Europe again, a 50-50 chance win that again. Rice has the same chance to win a trophy with us again. Then Arsenal, Man U, Chelsea. Rice might. Well, this is my thinking. Ballon, good evening to you. Nick on Clarence Booze has a better opinion of Jimmy Samuel than David Moyes. I haven't heard it, so I don't know. Turbo. Moyes has proved he's focused on defensive mindset, not a clue concerning forwards. Antonio's still number one. The Scamacca debacle, and when Ings comes on, it doesn't change the system. That is true. That is frustrating. Why buy Ings when you know the type of player he is, and then don't play him to his strengths? I agree with that. Thomas, unfortunately, it looks like Celtic are trying to woo Rodgers again and not Moyes. Oh, interesting. Yeah, interesting shout. Rodgers may go as well. Downey, Fiorentina have lost 3 times in the run to the final, so they are definitely not unbeatable. They lost to Poznan. They did indeed, the Polish club, who were awful when I watched them. You're absolutely correct. And I think they lost to, I'm going to say Anderlecht, or a team in the group stages that we beat quite easily. Or may have been another Belgian team. Andrew, if Celtic lose Postecoglou to Spurs, whether we win or lose, I would love to see him go with his head held high. It's not worth it. Good evening to you. We're going to lose. More heartbreak. Oh, more heartbreak for West Ham. Sorry if it sounds negative, but I've supported West Ham far too long to ever expect anything than disappointment. You won't be disappointed. It'll be a change, mate. It'll be a change. Keith, 21 games in La Liga, 80 yellows, 10 reds. I think it's a tad goal. Oh, God. So we had the similar ref. What was it? Was it the Ghent game? I think it might have been the Ghent game where that ref was card happy as well. Juha, why should we sack Moyes before we decide the way our team will play in the future? Get the new coach after we are clear on that, and then let him buy the players he needs. Look, like I said, I think, it is 50-50 with Moyes. Win it, he'll stay. Win it, he'll walk away with his head held high. Lose it, I think he'll probably go. Rhonda and Tony, if Rice wants trophies, he should go to Celtic with Moyes, and Lingard might be there as well. Billy Bob, last match might have mattered to other clubs fighting relegation. If we got relegated because the team went, feck it, we've nothing to play for, we'd be screaming. I don't think we just let that game go. I just think, it was just one of those games. I kind of, I don't know. I don't know. Should we care? Do we care? Yes, if it was us, we'd be pissed off. I agree with that part. Yeah. Sean, 4.5 per game and a red every 2 is on a high side for the referee. Looks like we're on a winner with a referee then. Let's scroll down. Good evening to you, Mandy. Leave the Viagra alone, John. Who's taking Viagra? Oh, man, I'm getting excited. I see what you mean. Daniela. Andrew, by all accounts, Postecoglou has signed a 2 years contract at Spurs tonight. Good luck to him. Good luck to him. How long will he last? Turbo Films. Declan Rice is an England international where all his teammates in the England squad play or have played Champions League. Deck wants Champions League football. He's gone. I know. Look. There's a small, tiny chance. But what was said earlier on, there's a tiny chance he might stay. But, what was said earlier on, he'll go to one of these teams playing Champions League football. Doesn't guarantee that he'll win the Champions League with them. Ballon, did you get your Paqueta shirt delivered? No. Did you send one to me? Who else we got? Thomas. Thomas, I think we must keep Scamacca. We can't forget how good he was in the early rounds of this competition. I like Scamacca. I think play to his strengths. I think there's a decent player there. I said that about Hilaire as well, and I used to get laughed at. But I think there is a decent player there. Will he stay? He might do. If we win and we stay in Europe next season, that could be the kind of thing that players will turn around and go, you know what? I fancy a bit of that. Razor can't play Creswell. You must learn Emerson. You must have Emerson all day long. Pablo plays instead of Souček to start. Souček on the bench. Imagine giving Moyes more money to waste again on his tactics. Well, I think it could be that Souček. I think Souček is a starter. Moyes has hardly dropped him this season, and I think Creswell's likely to start. But I do get the Emerson call. Trodge, Warburton seems to be closer to Moyes recently. I don't know what Warburton has done, to be really honest with you. I really don't know what he's done. But maybe, you said he's seen him closer on the touchline. Maybe he's finally sort of beginning to trust Warburton on tactical advice. Because there was, of course, the other rumour that Moyes never listened to any of his coaches. I don't know. You might think that's true. You might not. Chris, apparently Philip Schofield turned down the Spurs job, said he didn't want to wreck his... Jason, well said, mate. We're on the verge of greatness in our history. To those consumed with fake negativity, it ain't fake positivity. It's reality. I'm excited and I'm grateful. Turbo, attacking 4-3-3 or 4-1-2-1 is the formation in the final. When we've got the after teams in those last games of the season, we look far better. Players are more confident. We retain the ball far better. I do agree. This is what I'm worried about. I hope Moyes doesn't revert to a defensive minded. I'm not talking, like I said a moment ago. I'm not talking about exposing us completely, but for goodness sake, we've got to have something about us, haven't we? We've got to take it to them because they are vulnerable in defence. There's no reason why we can't go at them. Absolutely none. Folks, still having a field day. We just need a Masuaku bashing to complete the Holy Trinity. He's gone. Masuaku's gone. Mark, I don't think Moyes could work with a director of football over him. Well, this is the other big thing, isn't it? Moyes likes to control everything, so it would really not work, in my opinion. Maybe when Moyes leaves next year, we can put one in place. Well, this is the thing. Some of the talk about bringing in a director of football is a sort of a backhanded way of Sullivan kind of getting Moyes to move on. So if Sullivan does go ahead with the director of football, I think for that, whether we win or lose the trophy, I think for that, if the director of football does come in, Moyes will go. Andrew, club cannot be sold until probate on the go to state. Absolutely right. And I've said this before as well. 2 years on that. So all this talk about buyouts, it's all talk. That's all it is. But then what I've come to realise, doing these shows for the last, 2-3 years or so, is that there's an awful lot more talk than action. A lot of it's driven by social media. When someone puts out a story out there, everyone believes it without checking the facts. And it's like I fell into that big time. I fell into sort of like believing all the hype. You know, sometimes as you go on, you sort of sit back and you go, how much of that is true? How much of that is a load of bollocks? You know, and how will I want to present that story? And what I used to do with transfer stories was take the piss out of half of them, because you know you're not after 30, 40, 50 players in one summer transfer window. And that's what I've got to do with all future stories. Not take the piss, but, you know, try and see both sides of stories and try and give my view rather than with following the herd and saying this is absolutely true. This is absolutely going to happen, because a lot of stuff that's absolutely true hasn't happened. Sorry, I'm going on a rant. Ballon. Stella, are you and Doddsy a tag team on away trips? He's already out there. He's already on his way out there. I did speak to him earlier on. I'm going to meet him out there. But it's great to see him when he's out there. He's so full of joy. Turbo, Daniela, football is a lot of emperors, new clothes, tad overrated till the quarters, and you don't have played in it to be world class. He's playing international football already. If we're talking about Declan, yeah, look, some of our best players still played international football for England, etc. Trevor Brooking, it didn't hurt him. Even we got relegated and Trevor Brooking was still playing for England. So it won't hurt. It won't hurt his future aspirations. He may win more trophies, Declan, by staying with us. Win this, win the Europa League next season, in Europe, in Champions League, and we'll win that as well. Yeah, I'm dreaming. 14th of June, the window opens. Thank you. Who else have we got? Trudge. Emerson handles pressure better, I think, having won a European final with Italy. It's a good shout, actually. It's a good shout. You know, I thought about Kehrer. I thought very briefly about Fabianski. I thought about Emerson. And the only other position I thought about was on the left side of attack. You know, and you got to, you know, it's a good shout. You know, why not put Emerson on the left back? He could handle it better. Well, he could handle it differently, you know, so that is a good shout. Kehrer, I think Soufal gets the nod over Kehrer on the right side. Fabianski, definitely no. You know, it would be such a wrong statement to make if Fabianski started on Wednesday. I think Areola does start. But yeah, I think it's a good shout for the left back, maybe Emerson. But then the only other position, as I said, is it Fornals or is it Benrahma? You tell me, who would you prefer, Fornals or Benrahma on the left side of attack? Garino, my biggest fear for this game is player egos. One or two come to mind in particular, and they've got to go for glory and score rather than play the ball to a teammate who's in a better position. Go for it. Just absolutely go for it. You never know, do you? You know, if there's a few players that got good shots on them, just go for it. Don't look for that last pass. You can't pass the ball into the net all the time. Well, never for us. Keith, the Fiorentina boss said they would do technical fouls. Yes, I mentioned that earlier. He's a stupid knob because refs do their homework and will have seen that. And I hope if the ref does see that, I hope he stamps it out. Early doors, evening Stelfast. Thank you for joining. I hope you're enjoying it, mate. I really do. And thank you for joining. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe as well. David, good evening to you, mate. Stel, just tuned in. I know, mate. How are you? Usually I can only watch you live when I'm flying. We are going to win. Don't know the score, but we will win. David, I hope we do, mate. Oh, are you going out there? If you do, if you see me in the crowd, come over and say hello. And mine's double rum and coke. Mark. If Paquetá and Rice turn it on, we can win on Wednesday. We would control that midfield, absolutely. I also have a feeling Danny Ings could come on and help us over the line. You never know. You know, all of a sudden, you know, in the final, Moyes might decide to play two up front, you know, in the last 10 minutes of the game and win it. Rupert, just use your credit card at the bar. It was declined. Oh dear. Turbo, been on a few chat forums on YouTube over the last few hours. By far, this is the best chat. Thank you. I appreciate that. Proper informative host, much appreciated. I tell you what, I don't always get it right. Proper knowledgeable fans in debate. Sorry for the outburst. No, mate. No, I don't know if you did an outburst or whatever, but you're welcome. And more than welcome. Subscribe for fuck's sake. But you're more than welcome. And thank you for the comments as well. Much appreciated. Jonathan. West Ham should wear black armbands in memory of Fiorentina loss. And oh, see, when people come out with that kind of starts giving me the shakes a little. I don't want to. Oh, of course, I want us to win, but it's just that little bit of nerve. Just that little bit of nerve. Trodge, Rice wants out, but as someone said earlier, I think Daniela said, he's never said I want to leave West Ham. He's said I want to play, Champions League and all that sort of stuff. But he's never said, I want to leave West Ham. It started the moment he joined up with the England squad. He's never said he wants to leave. But who knows? Who knows? I've given up being romantic about, right, look, if he goes with our blessing, doesn't he? If he goes, honestly, in my head, I've got this vision where if we win, he might go, do you know what? Maybe one more year. I'll leave at the end of next year. Extend his contract there's a clause in his contract to extend it by another year. He might go, yeah, another season, Europa League. Why not? I had a ball last season. I had a ball this season. Why not one more season? Extend the contract, one more season, then leave next summer. And then when we win the Europa League next summer, he'll go, well, we're in the Champions League, aren't we? Well, what would I want to go for? Chris, I can't sleep. I've been 5 out, mate. I've got to be up at 5:30 to get to City Airport. So I'm with you there. I've got to, as soon as I finish this, I'm still ain't packed yet. Trodge, remember him speaking in interview? Yes, that was the bad. It was wrong for him to. He fell right into that trap, didn't he? And that was disappointing. Garino, I can take losing if we play well and lose to a better team, not from them cheating, diving, or some dodgy ref. I hope it doesn't go that way. I really, really do. It'd be awful if it went that way. David M. Not all England players had experience in Champions League. Absolutely true. Foe. Hopefully, after Mourinho. Why is my phone going? After Mourinho shenanigans in the Europa League final, the referees calls it straight down the middle, clamps down on tactical fouls by Fiorentina if they decide to play dirty. I agree. I absolutely agree. I really hope it doesn't go to that. I kind of likened, when I talked about Fiorentina some time ago, I kind of likened them to sort of a similar team to West Ham. They've been up, they've been down, they've won a few trophies. They've won a few more trophies than us in their history, but they're kind of a mid-table, aspiring to be better. They're a similar sort of team in a way. And I think, and I hope, that they'll play fair and square. But you never know. I mean, when the manager's come out and said what he said, then you kind of get a little bit worried, don't you? Trodge. The good news is everyone dives week in, week out in the Premier League, so our lads are used to it. Huge. Good evening to you. Great show as you. Thank you very much. Really getting excited about the final. I have a sneaking feeling Moyes might be our next director of football. Now, that's interesting, isn't it? Maybe he moves up and they bring another manager. That's a good shout. I don't know, Huge. You got me thinking there, mate. Downey, anyone thinks we can't go watch the YouTube highlights of last year's Europa League games apart from Frankfurt? Every player was exceptional. There is a lot there that we all forget. That's so true. It's so true. Look, Moyes brought in new players. He wanted a new style of football. It didn't work, and he's gone back to type. And ironically, going back to type is getting us back winning again, playing decent football and so on. So, yeah, it's a good shout. I always watched the Seville game. I always watched the Lyon game away. Well, I went to those. I went to the Lyon game away. What a night that was. I mean, this could top it. This could top it. The final. Well, it should top it. It's a final after all. Excuse me. Leslie, lift the trophy on Wednesday. 5 years' time, nothing else will matter. So true. Stuart, Benny and Pablo, which do you want at penalties? Pablo to start, Benny to finish. Possibility of Benny's a better finisher, isn't he, from the spot? Didn't realise that until this season. Yeah, Benny for penalties. Garino, watch Cornet come on, break the offside trap, place a thunder cover shot into the top corner. Yeah, I know, offside trap. Look at us. This is all what it's all about, isn't it? This is where we're at. We're dreaming, and we have a right to dream and hope that dream now becomes a reality. We have that right. We're in a final. We're talking about Skamaka coming on. We're talking about Cornet coming on, beating the offside trap. We're talking about Soufal scoring the winning goal. Why not? We're in a final. We're in a final. First final since 1986. Even that still hurts that we lost that game against Liverpool. We could win our first trophy since 1980. We've not been in the European final since 1976. We have the right to dream, and hope that dream becomes a reality on Wednesday night. And I think the team have got it in them. I think if we play to our strengths, if we play the way we've been playing the last few games, why can't we win this game? Let the Fiorentina fans and their social media, etc., say that they've won this already. That suits us because that means we're the underdogs. And when we're the underdogs, why not go out and demonstrate that the underdogs can actually go out and win this? We stand a good chance, don't we? It's one of those games where you just feel that. I think someone said it earlier. Even if we play shit, but we win by a dodgy goal or whatever, fuck it. I don't care so long as we win. But I think we've got it in us. Turbo. Fornal starts because he gets up and down the pitch better than Benrahma in the last 20. Subbing for Benny, who will drive at a tiring defence with his ability to beat player. I like that. Thomas. If Rice goes to Arsenal, his picture's going on my dartboard. I actually genuinely don't think he'll go to Arsenal. I could be wrong, but I really actually don't think he will go to Arsenal. Mark, one thing left to say before I go to bed and continue dreaming of winning a trophy. West Ham massive everywhere we go. Well, if you go to bed, you're going to miss the final video right at the end of the show, which is coming up in a minute. Downey, I'm happy if Rice goes to City, Chelsea or abroad. Otherwise, it will leave a bad taste in my mouth. Wherever he goes, we wish him well. Garino, players come and go for different reasons. Tevez, Ashton, Joe Colford, etc. You're absolutely right. Rupert, booked my hotel already in Dublin for next year. Bo, I'd be happy for Fornals to start with Benrahma, the magical super sub after 65 minutes. Once their defence and midfield starts to tire, Fornals, Cresswell is a better defensive combo. Good shout. Yeah, someone else said the same thing a moment ago. Anywhere but Arsenal or Man United, their fans constantly say Rice ain't worth 40 mil. He should go somewhere why should he go somewhere where he won't be appreciated? Good shout. Have you bought a Wiggy Star shirt? I love to say, I've got to see that then, mate. Trodge. Arsenal are the type to turn up as you are getting the stuff out of the cat at the boot style and offering you 50p. Jerry, they're Italian style. Tom Daly could play. I know that, mate. I know they play dirty game. I know they do. But I just hope the ref is strong enough to see through it. The last thing we want is a dodgy refereeing decision or a VAR decision. Garino, don't worry about penalties. Focus on winning in 90 minutes. Worry about pens in the last 10 minutes of extra time. I'm scrolling down to get to the bottom. Downey 8. City are the masters of tactical fouls, and they make sure that the same player never makes the same foul. So the ref is irrelevant. Sadly, it's organised cheating. It is in a way, isn't it? Right. Daniela, Zuma to mash the cat. Sorry, the ball in the back of the net. That's it, people. That's it from me. The next time you're going to hear from me is when I'm on my way to Prague. I'm getting up fucking early in the morning in order to catch my plane, the first of 2, and then a coach. How mad am I? But there you go. We do what we have to do because we want to be there. Look, for anyone that's going out there, safe trip over there. For anyone that's going out there with a ticket, you lucky bastards. For anyone that's going out there without a ticket, enjoy the moment. Get into the fan zone, enjoy it, make the most of it. This could be something historic that may not happen for a long, long time again. So just fucking go out there and enjoy it. For those who can't make it out there, you go to your fan zones, whatever countries you're in, whether it be Australia. I know I've got a few people that watch from America, etc., or whether you're here in England, in the UK. Just go and enjoy it. Be with your mates, go to a fan zone, do what you have to do. Just enjoy the moment. Let's enjoy this moment. Let's not worry about. I know I talked a little bit about what might happen if we win the trophy, etc. But let's just enjoy these next 2 days and hopefully come back with a trophy. That would be superb because I'll tell you what the fan base is going to be like if we win this. We will have a right to sing that we're massive. We won't sing we're massive. We'll sing we're fucking massive. Because. I'm getting excited. I think I needed this, because I've been away for a few weeks. I haven't done a show, etc. Maybe I needed this to start psyching myself up, and I am psyched up. I'm looking forward to it, even though it's going to take for fucking ever to get there, and even forever more to get back. I don't care. Once I'm out there, whoever's going out there, if you see me, say hello. We'll have a beer together or whatever. If you're here, you're wherever, enjoy it. Have a beer. Enjoy the game. And let's see what happens. I'll do some shows when I'm on my way there. I'll do some shows when I'm there. I'll make sure I do a show while I'm in the stadium, take some videos, etc. And I'll put them up as quickly as I possibly can to give you a feel of what it's like out there. Thank you for watching. Much appreciated. And well, what can I say? Come on, you Irons, because if we win this, it is going to be huge.